I'm very glad to be here. So first of all, my name is Roberto Casini. I guess most of you knows me. YellowScan since too long, 7 years maybe. And I'm now in charge of coordinating the UAV program, what we call UAV program, which aims to integrate our LiDAR with the most advanced drones in the market. UAV LiDAR needs to fly, so we need to make sure that we have the good drones to fly. And it's a pleasure for me to be here with three representatives of, in fact, three way of flying drones, which is a multi-rotor, fixed-wing VTOL, and electrical helicopter. So we have done this integration sometimes since a long time with Quantum. So you saw the presentation of Robert. And with BVLOS it's already some years, with Nokia recently. But the three platforms, for me, they represent the status quo, the state of the art in each particular segment. And so for me, it's important here to stimulate the discussion and try to see in the crystal ball, which is always kind of fun exercise with technology, because we have seen quite a change in the market. There are, for example, BVLOS, we are becoming regionally more and more relevant, especially in the United States, is more advanced, and let's say they are providing BVLOS regulation easier than Europe. And also, so we are going to, so to say, focus on a couple of topics. One is the technology, like artificial intelligence, that could change the game. Another one is regulation, and the third is what are the most active segment, and from where is the strongest traction from the market. So I would like to start the first question. Maybe you should introduce yourself a bit about also your platform, and tell about where you are focusing at the moment in your market. Please, Thomas.
Sure. Thank you, Roberto. And thank you for being part of that panel. My name is Thomas Eder. I'm from Nokia. For those who don't know Nokia, we did rubber boots at some points, then we did phones. Nowadays, our main business is connectivity, so we build the technology that makes your phones connect to the internet at the forefront. Nevertheless, we also build drones nowadays as part of our enterprise connectivity program. We have established ourselves as a UAV manufacturer, but I like to say that we don't have necessarily the criteria to build the best drone in the world. For us, it's always important to build a drone that maintains the best connectivity in the world and to stimulate the capabilities of connectivity to the next level. I'm myself heading Embedded Wireless. Embedded Wireless is the unit or the business line within Nokia which does all the fun projects. We connect machines over 4G, over 5G, as well as drones, and try to bring the world of IoT together with the latest, greatest on connectivity.
Thank you. Robert?
Thanks, Roberto, and thanks everyone else. I already introduced myself in the previous presentation, but in case you didn't hear before, I'm Robert Leake. I'm the head of the commercial sales team at Quantum Systems. Quantum Systems, we are a eVTOL platform manufacturer. We have a couple of different drones across different applications. We focus on commercial market, and we also focus on the governmental market. So we have a very strong focus on those two key elements, and the way that we build the drones is fundamental for those markets to make sure that we have the best technology there. Myself, I've been working within the drone industry for 10, 12 years now. I've seen things change a lot over that time, and it's been a very interesting industry to be involved in. So yeah, I'm very interested to talk about the future as well.
Martin, please.
Yeah, thank you, Roberto. My name is Martin Held. I'm CEO and founder of Hero, Drone Safety and Compliance. I'm a reseller of the BVLOS Rotors V3. I also run my own operation stationed in Austria about the V3. And predominantly we consult industry stakeholders by enabling their drone ecosystems. So we build up drone concept and continuously improve them in regard of safety and compliance.
Very good. So I would like to ask you, each of you, what you see in the BVLOS development. I mean, each of your platform works for basically longer than 1 hour or similar to 1 hour, and then this is allowed to fly BVLOS. Nokia has now a network of nationwide drone in the box in Belgium, and basically covering very large areas. So BVLOS is definitely one thing. With Quantum, we have a customer that are flying already BVLOS legally or illegally, whatever in the world. And with VELOS, we know that we can fly BVLOS. So each of you basically are exposed to the BVLOS, and we know that the BVLOS is basically an acronym of big paperwork and not really flexible way of operating. So how do you see this developing? You want to start, maybe, Thomas?
Yeah. I think I'm going to structure my answer into North America and Europe for the time being. That's the two main markets we are looking at. Starting with Europe, you referenced to the project we do in Belgium. We certainly benefit from state regulations. So in Belgium, we have a situation that if you need to fly for blue light organizations, for firefighters or police, then you can operate beyond visual line of sight without basically asking anybody. That state regulation is in place also in other countries within Europe. Germany is one example, Switzerland kind of also, and a couple of other countries where such exception is possible. That is extremely beneficial regulatory ground for proving that beyond visual line of sight operations can be done technically, but can also be done safe for the regulators. And I think the shout out to all the manufacturers or all the operators for drones out there is use those, I don't want to say loopholes I don't want to say loopholes, but use these opportunities to prove to the EASAs and FAAs out there in the world that operations can be conducted safely. Apart from that, whenever you have proven that a operation can be conducted for blue light operations, the traditional next step is going to be industries or mission critical industries. So the blue light organization deploying drone in a box systems just for blue light organizations is not necessarily a business case that literally flies forever. You need to go one step more, because at the end of the day, when we talk about drones, when we talk about drones in a boxes, it's an investment for the people that buy it or for the organizations that fund it, and at some point that investment needs to pay back. And the more customers, the more use cases you have, the easier and the faster you can prove that an investment will pay back.
Thank you so much. Robert, what is your experience with, I know we have done many projects together with BVLOS in area like Africa or Central America, but because basically the regulation there is pretty loose, but I know that some of your customers in the United States are also flying with BVLOS. I know that your new platform has transponders and other gimmick to allow this. So can you tell a little bit of your experience?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think the big thing for BVLOS is there's more and more need for it, and there's more and more demand for the data and the capabilities that these drones are doing. You know, we long surpassed the point where the average mission is completely within line of sight. This is just the reality of the case. And we have customers around the world who are doing larger and larger projects every year. If we go back a couple of years, they might have been doing 1,000 hectares or maybe 2,000 hectares. Now we are fairly regularly talking to people who say, well, we need to fly 10,000 or 25,000 or even 100,000 hectares. And realistically, this is just never going to be a visual line of sight operation. Now, regulatorily speaking, in some places they're maybe not flying perfectly according to the letter of the law. But I think that this showcases that the technology is more or less there, or at least it has proven that it's possible. The tricky thing, of course, is as the manufacturer, we always we can't enforce it, but we try to recommend to our customers to follow the rules and to fly within the regulatory framework. And as there's more and more demand, and as these projects start to grow, and the infrastructure projects that need these kinds of things start to appear more often, the regulators are slowly starting to take attention to this. It's not a fast-moving thing, but we're seeing more waivers in the US. We've seen operations in Brazil. We've seen operations here in Europe, in Germany, and even places like Australia, where these industry leaders, or the first movers, if you will, are going out and doing the hard work of putting in the waivers and putting in the documentation and writing all of the various proofs and whatever the regulatory bodies want to see. So it's a slow-moving industry, but it is slowly moving forward. And from a manufacturer's point of view, we want to work as closely as we can with the customers who have the ability to do that, and also to make sure that we're talking to the regulators to make sure that they are aware of the technology. Because if I rewind back in time 10 years ago to my operations in Australia, it's optimistic to say that the regulators know perfectly what technology is on the market. So it is a little bit up to the manufacturers and to the users and to the people who are actually making the applications to showcase to the regulators that this technology does exist, it's here, it's ready, and to the point that was made, these operations can be conducted safely. There are always going to be cowboys, but for the most part, people try to do the right thing.
Thank you, Robert. So, Martin, I know that you, besides to be a vendor of BVLOS, you're also a service provider. So I think you are facing making services with the BVLOS helicopter, how to do a sort of like operation. So do you see this improving in terms of paperwork? Or do you see this getting worse? What is your personal experience?
It's definitely getting better, because the regulatory foundation is there, at least biased from the EASA regulation. Everything is set in stone in regard of the methodology. Let's keep the ground risk aside for a minute. So the main limitation for BVLOS operation is the air risk and the seamless air risk integration, especially if we talk about detect and avoid. There are some loopholes or opt-outs that have been mentioned when you operate in as a Blue Force organization or in an atypical airspace. But if you go beyond that, we are currently waiting in the EASA for 2 projects to finalize that are the standards for future BVLOS operations. The one is the ADSL project, where everybody in the airspace below 400 feet will make themselves visibly according to this new established standard. So then you have also from a manufacturer's side the MASPs, the minimum aviation system performance standards that you can comply to. And beyond the 400 feet, so that's for nice mapping machines that can go really efficient at high altitudes. There's a project going on until 2025 called the Opera project, Operate Anywhere, where probably according to IFR and ADS-B standards, detect and avoid then will unlock the skies. And then the main question will become then how to mitigate the ground risk to actually mitigate BVLOS also population densities. What's another use case for mobile network data, for instance. But it's definitely increasing and everybody's struggling to get the permits. I'm not a big fan, since I'm a commercial pilot as well, to jeopardize and to be cowboy-like. And you have to also keep in mind that most incidents in regard of near misses or occurrences have been caused in the States, in the US as well, by blue light organization with opt-out options, because the national aviation authorities sometimes feel the pressure of enabling BVLOS. Unlike the industry is increasing. So you have to balance, keep balance, and wait for those standards to be implemented to really then be able to efficiently scale up drone operation as a service.
Okay, thank you, Martin. So there is a buzzword that I think everybody of us are reading in newspaper every day, which is artificial intelligence. And of course, artificial intelligence is not just ChatGPT, is much more than that, especially in technology. So my next question would be to you guys, what is the impact of artificial intelligence in your platform, and how you see this been deploying beyond, I would say, for example, what we are using for automatic classification, which is something post-processing. So how this artificial intelligence could help or jeopardize this technology, so to say.
Good, I got the pleasure again to start. Yeah, AI and ChatGPT, large language models, what have we. If we talk about the drones and the Nokia Drone Network solution in particular, what is our criteria? For that, you can put AI or machine learning into the application itself. I want to detect people, I want to detect car, I want to detect that one person in the crowd that has a yellow shirt, because that's the one I'm looking for. That's something where I think we have a lot of commercial players on the market that do video analytics very well, that have trained models that can find the biggest penguin in Alaska, you know. So that's not what we aim for, to be honest. We try to provide a platform with our drone solution that third-party application providers can bring their AI on board to our platform. So we encourage our customers and our partners to bring their application to our platform in the sense of an app store. When it comes to AI, and we provide the necessary computational power from the drone itself. But where we see really a strong potential, and that's again coming back to Nokia's DNA, is in the connectivity. So the fact that our drone connects over 4G, 5G, so the same network or the same technology like your phone connects to, gives us the capability to use our strong know-how of how do networks interact with the phones, how do networks interact with anything that is connected over 4G, 5G. So I have the criteria towards our R&D teams to say, guys, our customer needs to know before the drone drops out of the cell. Our customer needs to know when does the drone switch from network A to network B. So this AI or this predictive type of intelligence for the connectivity. The drone or the vehicle itself also needs to know when to scale up or down the quality of the payload. You know, this type of AI is the logic or the aim that we have when it comes to bringing it to our solution, simply because it's our core strength. Yeah.
Robert, I know that Quantum obviously is one of the few companies working in the military and in the civil scenario, and I know that you're already using some AI solution for the military. Do you see this somehow migrating into the civil application somehow, someday, or what is your vision?
No, absolutely. I mean, you know, we have a division within our company. It's the fastest growing part of our R&D team at the moment. To try to increase our AI division is fundamentally important to us because, you know, the tagline of quantum systems is aerial intelligence when it matters. And this is, for us, what AI is really useful for. There's lots of different things you can do with it. Of course, on the drone, it can be used for things like, improving the mission planning, providing better safety features and better safe return paths, and automatic preventative maintenance and all of these kinds of things. We can do lots of things on the drone, but functionally, the point of the drone, much to the chagrin of most drone manufacturers, is not actually the drone. It's the data that you capture with it. It's whatever you are looking for, be it with a visual camera, be it with a LiDAR, be it with whatever. We are looking to try to get data. That's what our customers want, and that's what they care about. And using AI within that part of the loop is really, really critical. So it can be something like, looking for the penguin or looking for the person. But it can also be, optimizing and improving the way that data flow works, and everything that goes into the workflow, and trying to improve that and trying to shorten the gap between putting the drone in the air, or even before that, making the decision of, I need this piece of information, and then actually getting that information at the end. Because right now we are mostly leaning on the experience and the knowledge of the operators and the analysis and the people analyzing the data to be able to do all of these things. But AI is an incredible tool that will help us optimize and shorten that link.
Thank you, Robert. So Martin, again, as someone that has both vision of the technology, because working with BVLOS so closely as a distributor, but also using this technology. So where do you dream to have the AI applied? How will you make your life less miserable when you are flying, very complex project?
Yeah, I again have to be the devil's advocate. Those are great examples for the usage of artificial intelligence, but seldomly it's use cases where you are bound to regulatory constraints. If we look at war zones these days, artificial intelligence, technically it's feasible to operate a drone without a remote pilot steering it. If we look at the most recent waivers, even of big companies that can develop software like Google Wing, the FAA waivers are always bound to a one-to-one rule, so one pilot, one drone. So if we look at artificial intelligence from my perspective, and also to be beneficial for future business models, we want to substitute the remote pilot. There is currently ongoing automation roadmap by the Joint Authority of Rulemaking of Unmanned Aircraft Systems, how one pilot can control more than one aircraft. This includes also assessment and design assurance level for software, how to automate, so I can scale up. This is in line with the EASA roadmap for artificial intelligence. Unfortunately, the drone are bound to the same machine learning roadmap as manned aviation, which sees the first flights without two pilots in manned aviation cockpits by 2030. So that's about the roadmap where it should develop, because, as I mentioned, design assurance level for those AI software still have to be developed, and it's still a long way to go. Also, all the legal aspects, who will substitute also the responsibility in regard of operation and control of the whole flight? Will it take over the operator? What's the role of manufacturers and designers and developers of software? Do they have some reliability? Will actually putting the pilot out of the loop will be more cost effective, because maybe the cost will increase in developing the software or maintaining the software? That's something that has to be figured out, but I'm sure they will figure out a way. Technically, there's no threshold anymore, just the regulatory perspective that limits.
Very good, Martin, thank you. So my last question is related to the market. Obviously, we are focusing on geomatics, but what we have discovered, what I've discovered, is that this LiDAR technology is pretty much an horizontal tools that can be used in many ways. Newly we have introduced a new technology, which is this bathymetry. And we are discovering every day that there are some applications that we never thought about are, let's say, requested. So we are pretty excited about this. So my question now would be, your vision in terms of which of these industries, which can be, power line, oil and gas, energy, logistics, are for you the most, with the largest, most important traction. So where you see in the next 2-3 years the famous Pareto thing, with 20% of inquiry, you make 80% of your money. So, yeah, just look into the crystal ball.
Yeah. The market entry or the most effective vertical, as we call it today, is definitely the blue light sector. That's where we see a lot of traction. The blue light sector certainly includes also the friends in green uniforms or whatever the uniform is, so the defense or the non-warfare, non-battlefield type of applications. After that, we are quite quickly in the so-called flying surveillance camera that brings us into the industrial sector. So whatever customer has a large perimeter and needs a flying security camera. And apart from that, I would call it the mission critical industries. So power line, oil and gas, which are not exactly blue light, but also not the manufacturing industry itself. Those are also, from a Nokia perspective, very, very interesting verticals and definitely the future when it comes to using drones.
Thank you. Yeah, Robert, what do you think? I mean, we are sharing quite a lot of experience in marketing the product together, and I see, for example, that the power line and the corridor mapping is becoming, especially for your platform, as far as we see the daily inquiry, the most important. Am I wrong, or do you see a different vision?
Yeah, that is definitely a trend that we're noticing as well. Of course, a fixed-wing VTOL does tend to suit quite nicely to these linear infrastructure projects. And certainly I think that these industries have got the money and the need for the inspection services that drones can provide. The sensors that are coming onto the market now are starting to make a lot more sense for this space, and the drones are certainly capable of doing it. There is a regulatory hurdle that we have to overcome, but the companies that are in the most need of these kinds of inspections are the ones who have also got the capital and the manpower to be able to achieve those things. So I do think that there's going to be a lot more upscaling in that particular industry and just general long linear infrastructure and inspection services. As well as that, I know that this is something that drone manufacturers have been saying for the last 10 years. I'm very aware of that. I have a soft spot for it. I grew up on a farm. I still really do believe in the notion of agriculture and drones. I think we're not there yet. I don't know where the tipping point is going to be. Maybe it's going to be drones in boxes and AI-driven workflows. Maybe that will be the thing that kicks over the can and finally gets this market moving. But I'm a big believer in that industry, and I think at some point when somebody finally figures out how to unlock it, it will be a much bigger industry than the geospatial industry that most of the drone manufacturers, at least in my sphere, have been operating in.
Thank you, Robert. Martin, I mean, operating an helicopter is different. So it's definitely a different experience than flying with fixed wing or multi-rotor. So do you see that in a helicopter like the BVLOS one has some advantage in some particular, let's say, application verticals, and you see this traction different from what Robert and Thomas says, or it's basically just another way to fly?
It is another way to fly, depending on the area where you are operating in. I agree with all that has been mentioned now. I think really the use cases that we will see in the application in the future will all be in line with United Nations Sustainability Development Goals. So power line inspection, critical assets that are tensioned, electricity, that's are really use cases that we will see in the future. Hopefully also more smart farming, definitely. A helicopter like the BVLOS V3 is especially capable in alpine terrain. If you envision, if we talk power line infrastructure monitoring, you can carry a nice, decent payload over a considerable longer time. And if you follow linear inspection, you cannot, at the moment, deviate from the power line very far to stay in this atypical airspace for the time being, at least in the EASA region. So you always have to also follow the structure. And if you have a fixed wing and you will have an increase of terrain beyond the climb rate, going by 17 meters per second like a Trinity, you will eventually crash into the asset. So you can overcome with a helicopter those areas where you have to climb and descend the forward speed. And then back when you reach the high plateau, for instance, of a power line, you will accelerate and be in your cruise speed, so you can more efficiently, like a quadcopter could, do the power line inspection properly. This, from a larger perspective, will enlarge your endurance and the time you will be on the asset with one set of batteries. So that's really the sweet spot. Also, if we saw today some use cases where you have a valley that you have to map, if you have a rock next to you, also the turn radius is much smaller because you can decelerate before you turn. So those are these areas where the helicopter is eventually very beneficial, and also in regard of maximum altitude where it can operate, especially with the free blade design of the V3, it loses hardly any efficiency with increase in altitude, and that has been proven and will be proved later this year also in the Nepalese Himalaya region by V3.
Very good. Thank you, Martin. Well, I forgot to say that all these three companies are exhibiting with their products in the other hall. So in case you want to visit them, please do it in these 2 days. Okay, well, thank you very much. Thank you very much for your time and your exchange of information, and enjoy the rest of the time here.
Thanks. Thanks, Roberto.